Welcome to the Life Coach Lounge. I'm Angela.
I'm Lisa.
And I'm Emily.
This isn't a podcast for coaches. It's for you, for real people navigating real life. It's lighthearted, it's deep, and it's grounded in faith, friendship, and purpose.
And once a month, you can join us in our virtual Life Coach Lounge on Zoom.
So pull up a seat. The Life Coach Lounge is open. Welcome, friends, back to the Life Coach Lounge. I'm Lisa, and I'm here with my beautiful friends, Angela and Emily, and we're back at it, doing what we love to do, which is have real, honest conversations, which is just an extension of our real, honest conversations from our Marcos that we then pour out here on the podcast. So today's topic is saying no, and not just saying no, but why saying no might actually not be as freeing, as much of a freeing thing as you would expect it to be. So before we dive in, if you have not joined our private Facebook group, what are you even doing? No, seriously, you need to get your booties into the private Facebook group. That is where we host a monthly Zoom so that you can come on virtually with us and hang out in the lounge. So if you haven't joined, we will see you over there in the private group. And also, all of us, as you know, have our own private one-on-one coaching businesses. So if you're ever feeling like you're in need of a little extra guidance, support, mentorship, you can reach out to any of us and we will be glad to have a conversation with you. And then lastly, we love it when you leave us a review and share this podcast. It just keeps us ever more present out there in the world of podcasting, and we appreciate it. So let's talk about no. So Angela was just sharing it before we popped on the podcast today that where she is currently residing, there is an actual button in that house that says the word no in fancy different, what would you call it? Like tones, like different tones.
Exactly. Yeah.
Saying no. So now I definitely have that in the back of my head as I'm talking about this. Look, here's the thing. We've all been there, right? You can agree and say with yourself to say no, but then there are times when you may just the words okay or yes or that's not a problem or something along those lines just roll right out of your mouth, and then you're left with, why did I just say yes to that? When you already know you don't really have the bandwidth to do the thing you just signed up to do. So today we're going to be talking what's really going on when we can't say no. And spoiler alert, it's not a time management problem. This is an identity problem. And we're going to talk a little bit about the faith piece. We're going to talk a little bit about the psychological piece and what happens in our brain and our body when we keep saying yes to everyone else and no to the most important person, which is yourself. So, Angela and Emily, have you recently felt even a twinge of, oh man, did I really just commit to that? Or maybe you said yes and then you were like, oh, you have that like little bit of regret in there. Have either one of you felt that recently? You're both nodding your heads. So, Emily, I'll let you just say a little bit about that.
So this used to happen to me all the time. I have absolutely progressed in this area of being able to say no, or even to appreciate a pause when somebody asks something of me, or that amazing little phrase, I'll get back to you, like to not say yes or no, like in the moment. But recently, I would say it has come up really highlighting more of you said it's not a time management problem, and I agree with you. I do believe it's more an identity issue. But in this particular situation, it was more of a time management problem for me because I didn't look at like my full week when I said yes to something. I just looked at that day and I thought, oh, of course I can squeeze that in. No big deal. And it was something I actually did want to do. But then after I committed to it and we made plans, I looked at the rest of the week and that's when I was regretting saying no because I didn't take into consideration my bandwidth for like the bigger picture. So that's how it's come up for me recently. How about you, Angela?
So I had a moment of frustration, and in desperation in the moment, joined a membership that was not inexpensive. And within, as soon as you join this thing, you have access to all this content, right? I mean, 5 minutes into scrolling all this content and my money being gone, I realized this is way more time consuming, way more involved than I thought it was going to be. And I was very disappointed that I had done that. And I wished I would have thought it through a little more. So I definitely should have said no to myself or had parameters. Yeah, I definitely had regret on that one.
It's been a good sales pitch.
Yeah. Do you think that your drive to say yes was like a FOMO thing, like you didn't want to miss out on what this particular person was offering for their membership?
So it's a weight loss membership. So it was a moment of frustration of I just want help with this. I'm tired of this. The more I lingered on things, the more it showed me the success stories, and I do know there were people that were having success with it, but it was definitely something that I made a decision in a moment of frustration that I regretted.
I feel like we've all been there. When you don't do what Emily was saying earlier, where she's become more consistent with pausing before giving that response, whether it's I'll get back to you, I need to think about that. And I know personally, especially when my kids were younger, it probably lingered more in the line of people pleasing to other moms. You know, when you sign up for something or your kids are involved in some type of group setting, and then someone is asked to, I think it could be bake cookies or be the head mom or do whatever. And I felt both people pleasing and like a judgment zone. Like if I didn't pull my weight, they were casting judgment on me, which, you know, decades later, those people I don't even speak to anymore. So pretty sure that held no value in anything. However, in the moment, it definitely felt like I needed to say yes more than I could say no, especially when they're like looking at you. in the moment, and they're like, you're gonna sign, they're like got their clipboard, you're gonna sign up for the things, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, so mine from years past, I had to do exactly what Emily was talking about and learn that I don't have to say yes to everything that came my way as a mom for something that had to do with the kids. There is a great saying that Angela just reminded me of recently, that one of our coaches, one of our mentor coaches, has said about pre-planned resentment. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because I've kind of carried that in to the concept of also being dishonest with a yes, and how that can also be pre-planned resentment.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the exact quote. It had to do with expectations.
Yep, expectations.
Expectations are premeditated resentments.
Mm-hmm.
And that does play into this,
Yes.
because if you believe that you people expect things of you and that you should say yes to something, and then that resentment sets in after you say yes, and you either resent them or resent yourself for saying something dishonest, the emotions will tell on you. When the emotions come, they will let you know if it was an honest answer or not.
Sometimes we don't find that out until after the fact, after we have felt that resentment many times over, whether it was resentment for the person or the place or the situation or for ourselves. That is really one of the motivating factors for me to have learned a new way to do this. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice, and it takes feeling that and deciding, I don't want to feel that way anymore. That is not me showing up in service. That is me showing up with a really stinky attitude, whether they can see it or feel it or not. Like, internally, doesn't feel good to show up with resentment. It's a process.
And just to be clear for some of our listeners who might be like, well, yeah, but sometimes you just say yes because it's the right thing to do. So I'm not talking about a dishonest yes leading to pre-planned resentment because your neighbor called and said, hey, can you let my dogs out today because my appointment ran late and I'm just not going to be able to make it home. I'm not talking about like those type of things. I'm talking about the habitual things that maybe someone, you said yes once, and so, well, I'm going to ask that person again. And then you continue to say yes because you are a nice person. But if you don't decide at some point not to say no, then what's really happening to you is what Emily just said, like it's not serving you. And so that's where that resentment piece can easily build up. It's not because of the first time somebody said, hey, do you mind bringing up my garbage cans? Do you mind letting my dogs out? It's that pattern.
And even with that, like, what is our heart attitude towards it? Am I looking for approval? Am I looking to earn somebody's favor? Am I like that people pleasing really coming on strong? What are my motives for saying yes? Is it because I have a servant's heart and there's a need here and I really feel that I can rearrange things in my daily life to serve and show up in service? Or is it to look good, to gain points, to gain somebody's favor? So I've had to do a whole lot of work on that too. What is my heart attitude towards this? Just because I can doesn't mean I need to. And when I do say yes, am I showing up with the right heart attitude? Because sometimes saying no, when it's because I think somebody will maybe be impressed by me, saying no is probably better. Or saying yes so that somebody will be impressed by me. For me and my own heart attitude, it would be better for me to say no. and let somebody else fill in that does have the right heart attitude, if that makes sense. I've had to wrestle with this, as you can tell.
Yeah, well, you're not alone. I mean, in writing the outline for this podcast, it brought up a lot of both past stuff and then kind of put a spotlight on some ways that I'm still not always saying yes or no from the right heart space. And one of those would be like almost like a savior complex, like a control issue. Sometimes I will feel like I have to, almost like I should, I have to say yes because in my head, I'm the only one that can do it right. So if I said no, if it turns out not the way I think that it should turn out, and then in turn be quote unquote wrong, then I am at fault for that. So that was kind of like long living presence of perfectionism that still just creeps up for me every now and then when I'm like, "No, I don't have to do that. I can delegate that to someone else. It is perfectly fine for someone else to take that over. That does not have to be something that I do. And if they don't do it the way I would have done it, okay, like letting that piece go. So it's been kind of interesting. Have either one of you ever felt that way? Like you have to say yes because, I mean, that kind of goes back to motherhood too. Like, no, I will do it because, my husband wouldn't do it wouldn't do it the way I would do it. So I will do it. I would never say no. I'll just do it. Do you guys remember ever doing that? Or maybe you still do it, like I just vulnerably admitted to, but
Sadly, that resonates so much for me. Yes. And it is still something that comes up for me. Absolutely. Yeah. I think a lot of moms can identify with that. I think it's very relatable.
and yet when we walk through that pattern, when we say yes, then if we had paused, it would have been a no. Then it's just that feeling of entrapment almost, like, so like you said, you're not showing up with a full heart. You're showing up exhausted and with resentment. And we all know how that can look. Words can be said that you don't mean to say.
And it turns out I'm creating my own issue. Like, I want somebody to help me, but they're not doing it right. So I don't let them help me. So then I'm not getting any help. So it's like I'm creating this merry-go-round of frustration for myself when I could just let it go. Like you said, what's the worst that could happen? They don't do it the same way. Okay, nobody's going to die. It's going to be fine. But yeah, I can relate to it all too well, Lisa, everything you just said. Angela's over there staying quiet. I want to know if Angela can relate to this
She's
too.
nodding her head like crazy. So I'm feeling like she's like, yep.
Actually, I was just thinking, I wonder if there's anything Jim is like, no, I got this. I'll do it. So, because he doesn't want to watch me like mess it up, right?
Yeah, of course it goes both ways,
I
right?
know.
Or does it? Like that made me think. Do they think about it the same way that we do? Do they have that control and that perfectionism? And obviously it's personality based. Not everybody, man or woman, mom or dad, is gonna, fall into one of those two categories. But when you said that, I'm like, I'm not sure that anything bothers Andrew to the level that it bothers me, which again, I have admitted that here on the podcast before, that issue of control and, like Lisa just said, perfectionism, people pleasing. Oh, ladies, it's a good thing that we are coaches and that you support me weekly, sometimes daily. I need it.
I think I need to write myself a note. Ask Brian later today what he's like. No, no, I got it. I got it. It's a great question, though, like from both perspectives. Off the cuff, I don't know if I can come up with something, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. He's just, stealthy enough to make it look like, no, 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 I got it. Really. Let me help you by
Right?
not
Okay.
allowing you to mess it up.
Let's ask our husbands and then we will report back to each
That's
other in the Marcos later.
all right. Ladies, as coaches, we know in working with our clients what is actually happening when we are saying yes to something or no to something, because I really think it could go either way. And then as soon as those words come out, we don't feel convicted enough or confident enough to say, actually, can we revisit that? So, what's happening in our brain and our bodies when there's a lot of people pleasing happening or we're not being true to ourselves? Angela, you want to?
Yeah, so for me, it goes back to my life sentence. And if our listeners haven't listened, we did a whole episode on the life sentence, but my life sentence has always been nobody likes me. And so, with that very subconsciously running in the background, I will make decisions or commit to things that are not authentic because of the fear that I won't fit in, I won't be liked, won't be part of the group, what will people think of me, all that kind of thing. So for me, it is the insecurity coming up that causes me to not be honest with my commitments. And it's interesting. I have also changed quite a bit, and I have found my no, so to speak. But then I notice once you find your no, you have to be careful with your motives on that too. Because is your no coming from a place of spite or, again, the resentment? Or how about this one? Not tonight, honey, I have a headache. The answer is no, because you didn't take the garbage out. um, so I think when you find your no, you do feel empowered, and you can take that to the extreme also and not be honest with that either.
That's a great point.
Very good point. Yes. How about for you, Emily?
When you were talking about describing what happens in your brain and your body when you're saying a no, but you mean yes, or a yes, but you mean no, as it relates to committing or doing something for somebody, I think of your nervous system being completely dysregulated because there's a disconnect because you're saying something, but internally you are not being true to what's happening when your body's trying to get your attention saying, red alert, actually, you don't have time for that or bandwidth for that, or you're coming at this with the wrong motive, right? I think if you quiet that for too long, it just gets stuck. That energy just gets stuck in there. And so then that nervous system dysregulation, your cortisol levels stay elevated, turns into inflammation. Like if you're really thinking like long term, I also thought too, just from a spiritual standpoint, as Christians, we believe it's wrong to lie. So why are we okay with lying to ourselves? So if we feel that disconnect when we say yes or no to something, but we're feeling something else internally, I believe that's also our conscience. It's not only our body's like nervous system becoming dysregulated. I think it's also our conscience and the spirit within us saying, actually, let's revisit this. Right. And so that's an opportunity to even go to God and be like, okay, do you want me to do this thing? Am I feeling hesitation because it's actually just an uncomfortable thing, but you actually want me to do it? Or am I feeling hesitation towards this thing because it's not actually the right place for me to serve? And, that can get tricky, but the more you do it, the more you follow the peace when you do go to the Lord and ask Him to give you peace about something. So I know I kind of went on two different tangents there, but there was a really good book I read, and it was years ago, but it would be worth revisiting. It's called The Best Yes, or Your Best Yes. I can't remember, by Lisa Turkhurst. Have either of you read that book?
No, I've not.
It's this very subject, and she comes at it from the Christian perspective also. And I remember the one quote I remember from that book was, sometimes your best yes is actually a no. And she helps you to work through people pleasing and how to make wise decisions based on, having that relationship with the Lord and everything. So, yeah, it's multifaceted, but with practice, I'm living proof that you can get better at it.
Absolutely. And we had talked about it not being a time management problem, but I do think what you're saying, Emily, is knowing your calling from God, knowing your position. Like when our kids were home, having dinner together every night was something we just did. It was not negotiable. And it wasn't like a hard and fast rule. I mean, there's always, a Christmas party or a family get together or whatever, but we made it a priority. And so it became easy to say, no, we can't do that at that time because we prioritize family dinners. And so knowing that in advance helps you to be free with your honest answer.
And when I hear you say that, though, even though, yes, time management is in there, what is in there, excuse me, even more is your identity piece. You are showing up as your true self. You are showing up with intent and purpose and love and like all the things. So I feel like your true self is showing up first, and then it involves, yes, we're going to manage our time together because this is important for us. And so you're both kind of giving us a perfect segue into just touching a little bit about the spiritual connection to saying no or yes. So I wrote down a few verses for any of us to pull from, but one of the anchor verses that I wrote down was Matthew 5:37. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. So right there, we're literally being told to own our own, like to own it, like without overthinking it, just show up, which is exactly what you were describing, Angela, in the importance of having family dinners together. There's no overthinking this. This is important to us to do as a family. Is there any other connections that, Emily, you already touched on some, but if you have others, I think that there are, I have to be careful to say older church ladies because y'all, I'm getting closer to being that older church lady.
Do you wear pantyhose?
So, no.
You have to wear pantyhose to church. Otherwise, you don't qualify.
I'll not be wearing pantyhose. No. But I think there are women that I can think of in my head growing up in the church that I have grown up in that you didn't say no. Like it was unkind to say no. If someone asked you to do something, you just, yes. Like no was not an option. Do either one of you, does that speak to either one of you? Did you grow up believing that, or do you believe that? Do you have other Christian friends or women who just believe like saying no is actually a no?
So this is where the comparison piece comes in for me, because my beautiful mom, who also listens to the podcast, so hi, Mom, has the capacity to say yes to so many service things, especially at her church. Like she and my dad will just serve and say yes and be there and without grumbling or complaining that I know of. I mean, I don't serve alongside of them, but they're always happy to do it. They're happy to do that for us. They always have been. If we needed them to help out with something with the girls or just in general, so quick to lend a hand. And so that wasn't drilled into us as you need to do this to be a good Christian, but they are still modeling it at their age. So seeing somebody model it so beautifully makes me internally compare myself and think if I'm not doing it that way, I'm not as good as they are, or I'm not, good enough, which is a complete lie. I don't need to believe that. So, what I've been able to do is look at them, look at me, and see the different capacity levels. They have the capacity to serve, and I don't believe they serve until they get burnt out. And if they do serve or overserve, they know how to pull it back a little bit and take some time, to recharge. So, not that they're doing it perfectly, but they're setting an amazing example for what that looks like. And also, I need to look at what is my capacity. I can do that same thing with my own giftings, with the time that I have, the capacity that I have. And again, it all comes down to the heart. Why are you doing it? Right? It shouldn't be so that I can be the good Christian woman or so that somebody else can see me as a good Christian servant. What is God asking me to do? And what is God asking other people to do? And let everybody give what they can.
Angela, what would you say to someone who's listening today and is thinking, okay, I too want to find my no. I want to kind of let myself off the hook. How would you suggest someone start with letting go of how another person is going to receive your no, or the guilt or shame that might come up? Because initially, for all of us, we all talked about not a lifetime, but quite a bit of our lifetime of sometimes saying yes or no to things when in retrospect, it would have been different. So, what would you suggest, Angela, for someone who's maybe just starting to think about, you know what? I heard what they said. How am I going to do this?
Yeah, I would say take a pause. There's always time to pause, and how long the pause is, you get to decide. But am I speaking out of fear, the old FOMO, fear of missing out, committing to something just because I'm afraid that someone will have fun and I won't be there, even though I really don't want to go or shouldn't go or whatever? Taking the judgment out of it, asking yourself some questions in the pause. Am I afraid of judgment? The fear there in that, saying, I'm not comfortable in this place, or I'm not comfortable watching this, or whatever it is, guarding your heart in that way. And then with your no, again, we talked about motives and just taking the pause to say, are my motives in the right place with my no? The verse, Lisa, that you read, let your yes be yes and your no be no. What I have found is when you do find your no, you'll say an honest no, but then you'll feel like you have to explain yourself. Like you have to do all this over explaining. And so people understand where you're coming from. Well, Jesus is telling us right there, you can just say no. It's okay. You don't have to over explain it. So in the pause, I would say be true to yourself, be true to your calling. It does help to have those parameters in place and know what path you're on ahead of time. It makes it a lot easier. So pay attention to that too. And if you say yes, maybe the honest thing is going back and saying, you know what? I really said yes too quickly. I I need to back out of that. If you need help finding someone else to do it, I can help. Or whatever. Like still being honest even after you answer is a good way to go about it too.
Yes, permission to change your mind
Permission slip.
without apology. I know for me, when I first started saying no, I would say, I'm sorry, but I can't, or I'm sorry, no, or unfortunately. So I love that you hit on that, Angela. There doesn't have to be an explanation, and there also doesn't necessarily have to be an apology. An apology is if you've wronged somebody. It doesn't automatically go with a decline in the form of a no.
I know one of the things I've strived to teach my children, because I was an expert, surprise, surprise, at doing just what you said, Angela, like over explaining, or like you said, Emily, apologizing multiple times and then feeling like you got to give like all the information. And I would say to my kids, like, no is actually a sentence. It's a complete sentence sometimes. And you don't have to explain your why. Sometimes, yes, but other times, if you feel like the answer is no, you can just say no. You can do it respectfully, but you don't have to come up with something, because I feel like it kind of invites people to not always be truthful. Like, you're not being truthful if you're like, well, I can't do the thing because I got a thing. Then my, neighbors, second, third, fourth, fifth cousins got their thing. And then, like, it just like can snowball because you do feel like you need to over explain. And yeah, that was me. I will put my hand high. That was me. I felt like I needed to give all the right answers because I said something that was a no. Oh, the work we have done, ladies, and the work that I think I can speak for all of us. What's exciting is then the work that we get to do with our clients to help them also get to lead with their heart, lead with their purpose, lead with their true identity, and show up as a child of God and go out and be of service to others, but not just because you need to people please your way through that service. That's not how that works. Ladies, do you have any other nuggets of wisdom for our listeners today as we wrap up our no?
I would say pay attention to the difference between discomfort and dishonesty, because there are times, for example, if I have a friend that says, do you want to meet for coffee on Friday morning, 9 o'clock? Well, you girls both know how strict I am and routinized I am in my mornings. I love my morning routines. I love walking, my Bible time. I love all of that in the morning, and I protect that. And so the 9 a.m. will you meet me for coffee is brings up discomfort, because that's a morning that I'm not doing my things at home that I love doing. But the honest answer is yes. I want to do that with you. I want to be with my friend. I want to spend time with them. And so pay attention if it's just discomfort that you're doing something outside of your normal, like for me, outside of my normal. But the honest answer is actually, yes, I want to spend time with my friend. And you'll know, because you don't regret it. You go and you go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I went and did that. So pay attention. Are you just feeling discomfort, or is it true dishonesty?
So good.
Do you have anything, Emily?
I don't think so. I mean, I think just revisiting that quote from Your Best Yes Sometimes your best yes is actually a no, and there's nothing wrong with that.
We will end it there, friends. As always, thank you for coming and hanging out with us today in the Life Coach Lounge. It's always such a blessing to me to be here with my two lounging besties, Emily and Angela. And to all of our loungers, we will see you again next week. And ladies, I will see you in the Marcos.